Let's take, which question would you like to take here? Let's take the third question. I think it's a simple question. And before I go ahead with my question, I would like to just bring something to your notice that in CAT verbal ability, 50% of the questions once upon a time used to be from fill in the blank. That is, if I go back to the CAT 2000. So if I go to the CAT 2003, 2004, 05 papers, you will find that there are many questions from this particular section, that is the fill in the blank section. Somehow, since CAT 12, we haven't seen many questions. In CAT 12, we did have 3 to 4 questions from fill in the blanks. In CAT 13 too, we had 3 to 4 questions from fill in the blanks. But in CAT 14 and CAT 15, we haven't seen many questions from fill in the blanks, right? So we don't know because fill in the blanks may or may not come, and if they come, they could be a very scoring point in the exam, because most of the fill in the blanks can be solved in 2 to 3 minutes, right? And you can get correct if your vocabulary is really good. Uh, we'll take the question first, and then we will come to the discussion part of it. Take the third question. It says here, given the flood of information, it says here, given the flood of information presented by means of mass media, the only way for someone to keep abreast. What is keeping abreast yourself of? Yes, anyone? What does the phrase to keep abreast of mean? This is a phrasal verb. To keep abreast of. It's an idiom. Yes, to keep yourself updated. So what you see basically in fill in the blanks is that even such minor information can make a huge difference, right? Lurid means excessively bright. So the word lurid here means excessively bright. And this does not fit the context. So if you say, given the flood of information presented by the mass media, the only way for someone to keep abreast of the news is to rely on dash accounts. So you have flood of information, right? So synoptic, what is synoptic? Have you heard of the word synopsis? Yes, people? Have you heard of the word synopsis? Correct. What does it mean, the word synopsis? Give synopsis basically means a brief overview. A brief overview of something is synopsis, correct? So yeah, it's a summary. So even if you don't know the meaning of the term, you get a feeling that the author says that given the flood of information presented by the mass media, the only way for someone to keep abreast of the news is to rely on dash accounts. Synoptic accounts basically means you have so much of information that you may not be able to keep track of all the information, and therefore it's better you rely on some kind of synoptic information given by someone, without, so that you can get the basic idea of everything, right? So it makes sense because the flood of information is there, and therefore there are so many things happening around you that you need some kind of synopsis. You need a magazine, a monthly magazine, or let's say something that gives you a summary of what exactly happens around you. Synoptic makes logical sense. Lurid does not. What is copious? Copious means too much. Copious means too much. You drink copiously. Devious. When you say copiously, that is basically in large quantity. Copious means too much or large quantity, right? You drink copiously. We often say that the person eats voraciously. You drink copiously. That is the adjective that is. So even D does not make sense. Sensational, again, it's illogical. So the best answer is option A. So many, see, you must understand, you must go by elimination. The ones that you feel are logically not fitting in the context, you just get rid of them. So many a time you might get rid of 3 options, and the fourth option, because it is the only option that you are left with, might make complete sense and become the right answer. So many a time, though you don't know the meaning of the word, you must try to guess the meaning of the word. What we call is intelligent guessing. It basically means that even if you don't know the exact meaning of the word synoptic must have come from synopsis, and synopsis means summary. So there is flood of information around me, and so I should depend on summary of all that information rather than going for the information and flooding myself with too much of this, right? So this is the answer to the question. Answer is A for the third question. uh, let's take the fifth one. You have in this sentence you have two parts. The first part says, always. What do you mean by circumspect, people? We have seen so many words in just two sentences. We have taken hardly two questions and we have seen so many words. What do you mean by the word circumspect? Circumspect means, yes, when the cricketer, when the batsman comes on the pitch, he's a bit circumspect, right? In the commentators keep on telling this, that he's a bit circumspect means a bit cautious. Please understand this. Circumspect means a bit cautious, hesitant. So always cautious. She was reluctant to make judgments, right? Of course, if you are cautious, you would be reluctant to make judgments, right? But once arriving at a, so you have a contrast now. That means the idea that comes after this and the idea that has come before would be contrasting in nature. That means basically always circumspect. She was reluctant to make judgments, but once arriving at a conclusion, she was dash in its defense. Now, when you say dash in defense, it must be opposite of circumspect, right? So she was reluctant to make judgments, but once arriving at a conclusion, she was dash in his defense. So the word that is opposite of circumspect is likely to be the right answer here. Yes, people, tell me, am I going in the right direction or not? This is the way you must attempt your questions. Are we going in the right direction? Always circumspect, always cautious, she was reluctant to make judgments, but once she arrived at a conclusion, she was dash in his defense. So, opposite of circumspect could be, what is the opposite of cautious? Cautious means confident, or you can say sure, or you can say stubborn, right? Someone who is hesitant, the opposite of that would be stubborn, correct? So, what do you think is the right answer here? What does the word intransigent mean? Yes, you must have heard the term. What do you mean by the word intransigent? Stubborn. The best word is stubborn. Or unmoving. That's the right word. Unmoving. Intransigent basically means unmoving, uncompromising, obdurate. Yes. So basically, I have the meaning of the word, and this makes sense. Why? Because it perfectly balances the conjunction part. Always circumspect, she was reluctant to make judgments, but once arriving at a conclusion, she was obdurate, basically means, or intransigent basically means fixed, firm, and stubborn, unmoving, resolute. These are the many synonyms of the word intransigent. What is deferential? Anyone? Can anyone tell me the meaning of the word deferential? Differential and deferential are two different things. Please understand. Yes, deferential means basically showing reverence, showing respect, right? So you have the word deference. Deference means showing some kind of obedience or respect. That is how we have the word. So deferential cannot be the right answer. Obsequious means very, very obedient. So when you say that this guy is obsequious, I mean, my boss is so obsequious to his super boss. Obsequious basically means very obedient, obedient to the extent of basically being a sycophant. So that also does not make sense. To lax means to give some kind of laxity. Basically means liberal. To be liberal, to give some kind of leeway. So again, that does not make sense. So the best answer is B, and that is the right answer. Let's go and take the fifth one now. The plan which the engineers said would save the aquifer by reducing pumping to dash levels has passed a governmental environmental review but faces opposition from outdoor and environment groups. What do you think is the answer here? This is a tough question, I think, right? The plan which the engineers said would save the aquifer by reducing pumping to dash levels. Practicable, impracticable. Impracticable cannot be the answer. If it is in impracticable levels, then I think you don't need the engineers, right? So people, can we remove D safely? Can remove D safely, right? We shouldn't bother about. What about in what is innocuous, by the way? Not harmful, right? Harmless. So the plan which the engineers said would save the aquifer by reducing pumping to harmless levels. Okay, so the plan the plan which the engineer said would save the aquifer by reducing pumping to harmless levels has passed a government. So it can be, feasible. Would you mark feasible in this case? Feasible. See, if the environment, if the environment groups are, if it is if it is concerned with the environment, then what do you think would be the answer? Because the question emphasizes in both the ways. The plan has, look at this, the plan has passed a governmental environmental review and faces opposition from outdoor and environment groups. So the problem is that it is the environment that is concerned in the sentence. We have ample evidence here. We have ample evidence that it is basically the environment that is the concern here. And if you are having the environment, so if there is if there is opposition from the outdoor environment groups, that means they feel that whatever is the level here may not be good. So if it is impracticable or practicable, it is not the concern of the environment groups. Please understand this, people. If it is practicable or impracticable, why should the environment people be concerned about it? It is the matter of the government and the engineer to be worried about the practicality and the impracticality of the matter. But if it is concerned with innocuous harmfulness and harmless, if it is harmful or harmless, then it is definitely the concern of the environment group. Why? Because if it is harmful, then of course it is going to have an impact on the people. If it is harmless, then definitely they should go ahead with the plans. So the problem here is that the plan which the engineers said would save the aquifer by reducing pumping to harmless levels. So the engineers say that the pumping would be reduced to the harmless levels, but the environment people don't believe in that, and therefore they are likely to oppose the plan, or whatever is the process, right? So I think A is the right answer. Correct, I think A is the right answer, because I doubt if practicality or impractical is the concern here. If it is practicable, then why should the point is that the environment people will not come into picture irrespective of whether it is practicable or impracticable. So the environmental factor has come basically means if it is harmful, definitely if the environment people think it is harmful, then they would not believe in this particular statement. So A basically makes logical sense, because practicable also can make a complete, practicable and feasible can also make sense. But then why should the environment people bother about it? Because this is the line of reasoning that we can use, that if after all we are getting the environmental, we are dragging the environment people in here, right? So there must be something which is concerned with the environment, and the best way is that you can have this kind of reasoning. Let's go and take the next question here. Yes, what do we have here? In her later years, Bertha Pappenheim was an apostle of noble but already dashed notions. So again, you have a conjunction but, right? So it says here, in her later years, Bertha Pappenheim was an apostle of noble but. So you must have something that balances noble, that contrasts with the word noble. Noble but already dashed notions. Always respected for her integrity, her energy, and her resolve, but increasingly out of step. What do you mean by out of step? Already dashed notions. Always respected for her integrity, her energy, and her resolve, but increasingly out of step. Out of step basically means out of tune, right? You are out of step with time basically means you are out of tune. You are living in a different age, and ultimately dash even her own organization. So what do you think is a second blank? If someone is out of step, then ultimately, and secondly, you have to balance that with but, right? So she is a woman of integrity, her energy and resolve is admirable, but she has been dashed, so it cannot be appreciated. Why? Because how would you justify the presence of the conjunction but, right? It can be a, what is alienated, left out, right? Left out by her own organization. Because if you're out of step, then it's likely that you would be left out. You cannot be admired by. And emulate means to admire, to adulate, to copy, to imitate, right? Appreciate. So they all are positive words. E is positive, F is positive, H is positive. And you cannot have a positive word here because you need to justify the presence of the conjunction but. I hope you are following me, people. Correct? So your best option is G, which is a contrasting notion, and therefore it perfectly balances the presence of the conjunction but. Am I right or wrong, people? And here you have, in her later years, Martha Pappenheim was an apostle of noble but already dash notions. Why why dash notions now? If it is accepted, then there is nothing wrong in it. Why should you use the word but, right? So she had noble notions, but those noble notions were anachronistic. Why? Anachronistic means basically outdated, out of time. Correct? So anachronistic makes complete sense. Why? Because it justifies the presence of the conjunction but. Except esoteric means known only to few people. Please understand the meaning of the word. Esoteric means known to only few people. We know that in India we have esoteric knowledge. Esoteric means not accessible to everyone, not understood by everyone. And exotic means fascinating. Exotic basically means fascinating, exciting. And why it is exciting? Because it is foreign to you, and that's why it is exotic. Exotic and esoteric, they both go out. Why? Because they don't fit in the other in the sentence as a whole. See, when you say out of step, that means basically we have hint for this particular blank, and that's anachronistic. So contrast to his later. So to his later dash, Simpson was largely dash politics during his college years. So in stark contrast to his later dash, Simpson was largely dash politics during his college years, despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with. Okay, the despite means basically you must put a contrasting idea, right? So this is a hint you have, correct? Despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife, basically means full of. So despite the fact that the campus he attended was full of political activity, Simpson was largely dash politics during his college years. So if you want to justify this, you must have something which is opposite to this. So you can say, despite despite my you can say my poverty, despite my poverty, comma, I did well in business, right? Or you can say, despite not being an MBA, right? Despite not being an MBA, comma, I did well in business. Something like this, right? So if it says, despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with political activity, the best way to fit this is to say that he was not active in politics. People, are you following me? So despite the fact that the campus he attended was full of political activity, Simpson was largely not interested in politics, and therefore the best thing is indifferent to politics, not devoted to, because you must put something which is negative. Shaped by. Zealous basically means very, very enthusiastic. Understand, the word zealous means very enthusiastic, and therefore it also goes out. So you are left with only one option, that is indifferent. When you are indifferent to something, means you are not interested in. And despite the fact that the campus he attended was full of political activity, Simpson was largely indifferent or not interested in politics during his college years. But then, if the later years were in stark contrast, then what do you think here? What should come here? Activism, right? Because contrast basically means what? He was indifferent to politics in his college years, but later on he became very active to it, or very active in it. So we have the word activism, which makes complete sense. So I can use activism for the first blank. I can use indifferent to for the second blank. Apathy means indifference. Apathy and indifferent to are one and the same thing. Affability means what? Likeness, fondness. Affable means very fond of. Likeable. Likeable is the right word for that. Sluggish means slow to move. You become sluggish, right? When you get up early in the morning, you are a bit sluggish at the start, correct? You don't want to move. You feel like lying on the bed all the while. That is a sluggish nature. Sometimes your mind can be sluggish when you don't want to think much. You just want to sit and relax, right? So people are clear with all the words. Just don't go with the word that is the right answer. You also must know the meaning of the other words. That is how you basically learn much from every question. Correct, people? So can we go to the next question, everyone? And this is a simple question. Vain and prone to violence. So again, this is a modifier. Vain and prone to violence. Who was vain and prone to violence? Caravaggio. Caravaggio was vain and prone to violence. Caravaggio could not handle success. The more his dash as an artist increased, the more dash his life became. So the more dash. So it says a vain and prone to violence. Caravaggio could not handle, right, success. That means the more successful he became, the more dash his life became. So that must be something negative here, correct? And what is negative in these words? What is imperturbable? People just know the meaning of these words, because again I'm telling you, there are many students are concerned with NMAT. It has so difficult words and this and that. People, you must try to learn from as many sources as possible. So what is imperturbable? Imperturbable means undisturbed, right? So the word perturbed means disturbed. Yes, the word perturbed means disturbed, and the word imperturbed means undisturbed. So it cannot be, because you should have a negative word. Dispassionate means what? Dispassionate means not affected by emotions. Understand this. The word dispassionate means what? Unbiased. That is the right word for that. So the your teacher should be unbiased. The cat should be unbiased, but it is biased. Tumultuous means full of ups and downs. So this makes complete sense, right? Tumultuous means full of ups and downs. You suppose if you change 5 companies in 4 months, then I would tell that you have had a tumultuous career so far, right? Tumultuous basically means ups and downs. So this makes complete sense. Providential means something happening at a favorable time. So these cannot be the right answer. All the three options, they go out because they are more or less very positive in their meaning. Providential means happening at a favorable time. Dispassionate means unbiased. Imperturbable means undisturbed. So you cannot make. Tumultuous is the right word. And for the first thing, the more his eminence as an artist increased, the more tumultuous his life became. So basically, C is the right pair. What is notoriety? Again, does not make sense. Notoriety does not make sense, because notoriety, if you fill notoriety in the first blank, then you will have problems. Why? Because the more his notoriety as an artist increased, the more dash his life became. But it says here, right, Caravaggio could not handle success. That means basically, after the colon, you must put something which is concerned with increasing success, right, not with notoriety. So notoriety goes out. Obloquy. Can anyone tell me the meaning of the word obloquy? People, what is the meaning of the word obloquy? Obloquy means strong public condemnation. Strong public condemnation, the kind that you see on the social media, right? So we often have those targets, and they are always objects of strong public condemnation. So we can say obloquy, right? So this is the meaning of the word. Temperance. Yes, what is temperance? Temperance, people, you must know the meaning of this. Temperance is basically moderation. So if you drink and eat within your limits, that means you are practicing temperance. Temperance is recommended by the sages of India, right? Temperance is a virtue. It is a noun. Please understand this. It's a noun. Temperance is a noun. Correct? Temperance basically means moderation, doing everything in moderation. Can you repeat the meaning of the word providential? Providential means happening at a favorable time. A providential meeting with the convener of CAT, Piyush. So if you happen to meet the convener of CAT having tea near your office, then you would say that it was a providential meeting, right? So let's go and take the next question. So this we are done with. I will give you some tough question. I don't see where have all the tough questions gone. Uh, I will give you a tough question. I'm trying to find one. So understand this. If you think if you think that the company's strong environmental performance will boost your company's financial performance, often dash claims. So you will uncritically accept, right? You will uncritically accept claims that systems designed to help them manage environmental concerns are valuable tools. By contrast, that means basically these managers are of one kind and these are of the other kind. By contrast, managers who perceive environmental performance to be peripheral to financial success, right, may view environmental management system to be unnecessary or extraneous. So the extraneous has given me the first blank, and that basically means that because it is extraneous, it has to be peripheral, and because they are contrasting with the earlier managers, it has to be bolstered and uncritically accept. People, are we done with this question? Did you see the approach? You must keep an eye on how to basically get into the question. Why not appropriately acknowledge? What is the difference between acknowledge and accept? What is the difference between acknowledge and accept? What is more wholehearted? If you acknowledge something or if you accept something? Accept is wholehearted. Why it is wholehearted? Because there is a certain willingness. Accept word has welcoming. The word welcoming is there in accept. I accept your resignation basically means what? I have welcomed it. But when you acknowledge it, it is more silent. You acknowledge basically means it could be positive or negative and you have just acknowledged it. But when you accept something, you are basically welcoming it with both the hands. So accept is a better word in this case than acknowledge. People, are you clear with this now? Shall we go to the next question? It says here, philosophy, unlike most other subjects, does not extend our knowledge by discovering new information about the world. Instead, it tries to deepen our understanding through dash what is already closest to us. Detachment from rumination of attainment of, what do you think is the right choice here? What is rumination? What is ruminate? To think over something again and again. Please understand this. The meaning of the word rumination is to think over something again and again. To keep on repeatedly pondering over something. So the word rumination has repetition to it. So philosophy, unlike most other subjects, does not try to extend our knowledge by discovering new information. Instead, philosophy tries to deepen our understanding through, and how do you deepen your understanding? Only by thinking, right? Only by thinking would you be able to deepen your understanding, correct? Right, people? So we have rumination. Philosophy, unlike most other subjects, does not extend our knowledge by discovering new information about the world. Instead, it tries to deepen our understanding through rumination of what is already closest to us. The experiences, thoughts, concepts, and activities that make up our lives, but that ordinarily escape our notice precisely because they are so familiar. Philosophy finds Philosophy begins by finding dash things that are dash. Yes. Philosophy Philosophy begins by finding dash things that are dash. So the things are very commonplace, right? It cannot be K. The third blank cannot be K. Why it cannot be K? Because philosophy is studying what is already closest to us. Philosophy is studying what is already closest to us. That means those things cannot be novel because those things are already close to us, and something that is already close to you cannot be novel. So we can kick out K. And most prosaic basically means most common. Of course, most prosaic means most common. Somewhat hackneyed means somewhat common. So what would you pick? Would you pick somewhat common or would you pick most common? The things are already closest to you. So they have to be most prosaic, most common. And because it says here you are pondering over it again and again. You will ponder over something again and again only if they are utterly mysterious, right? Philosophy begins by finding utterly mysterious things that are most common, and because they are utterly mysterious, you like to think over them again and again and again. So it cannot be essentially irrelevant. You might say thoroughly commonplace, but it says philosophy begins by finding thoroughly commonplace things are thoroughly commonplace. It becomes a redundant phrase. If you put G, it becomes a redundant phrase. Philosophy begins by finding thoroughly commonplace things which are thoroughly commonplace. Does it make any sense? But yes, philosophy begins by finding utterly mysterious the things that are so common, and that is precisely the beauty of philosophy. So, what do we have? We have B, we have F, and then we have I. BFI is the right answer. It was a tough question, but it was a good question. It taught us so many things, right? Can we go to the next question now? The first one. It looks very simple and short, but it's a tough question. Okay, only by ignoring decades of mismanagement and inefficiency could investors conclude. So investors are ignoring what? They are ignoring decades of mismanagement and inefficiency. Correct? So the investors are ignoring decades of mismanagement and inefficiency, and after doing that, they think that fresh infusion of cash would provide anything other than that a fresh infusion of cash would provide anything other than a dash solution to the company's financial woes. So imagine for a while, again, this is a very difficult question. You are an investor, right? You are an investor and you are ignoring something. And what you are ignoring? You are ignoring decades of mismanagement and decades of inefficiency. So you are ignoring all the negative things. You are ignoring all the negative things. Then what would your expectation be if you ignore all the negative things about investment? Just a moment, people. If you ignore all the negative things about, yes, you would become very optimistic. So the investors are ignoring lots and lots of negative things, and a result and from that they should conclude that fresh infusion of cash would provide anything other than a dash solution. That means it would provide anything other than a momentary solution. That means basically what it would provide. If it would provide anything other than a momentary solution, that means what kind of solution would it provide? Understand this phrase, people. It would provide anything other than a momentary solution means it would provide what kind of solution? It would provide complete solution. So only if you put momentary here, you will get complete as the answer. Are you following, people? So if you put momentary, you will get a positive answer. And if you ignore all the negative things, only then you can get a positive answer. Are you getting my point? So the investors have come, these investors have ignored all the negative things. And if they ignore all the negative things, they should expect something positive. To expect something positive means you should make this entire phrase trivial. Trivial solution to the companies. Trivial is importance. Trivial is importance given to something. You would look for permanent trees. You would look for complete solution, right? You would not look for trivial. See, when you use the word trivial, it becomes a problem in the usage. So where were we? We were discussing basically why not trivial. See, when you say only by ignoring, just a moment, what is my pen? Only by ignoring decades of mismanagement and inefficiency could investors conclude that a fresh infusion of cash would provide anything. See, when you say trivial, it's basically a word usage problem. It's not about the problem in the meaning. When you say trivial issues means insignificant or not very important. So so in that case, you have trivial and momentary solution. Trivial solution and momentary. So opposite of momentary is basically permanent solution. And opposite of say trivial issues, right? Do you say trivial solution? If you're discussing something, you would say this is a permanent solution, a temporary solution. You never say it's a trivial solution. You say trivial issues, you say significant issues, you say insignificant issue. So you must be very careful with the word that you use. Certain words go with certain kinds. So when you say trivial, it means basically the gravity of a problem. That's why trivial will immediately go out. I'm not doing so. People have marked 7th A. It says Congress is having great difficulty developing a consensus on energy policy, primarily because the policy objectives of various members of Congress rest on such dash assumptions. What do you think is the right answer? See, first of all, you must go by the evidence given to you. Congress is having a great difficulty developing a consensus. That means if you are having difficulty developing a consensus, that means there must be something that is a barrier to that consensus. Primarily because the policy objectives of various members of Congress rest on such dash assumptions. It is disparate. Disparate means what? Different. Different plus, what do you think? Disparate means different plus opposing. Please understand the meaning of the word disparate. Disparate basically means different at the same time they are opposing. So different is just not enough. Different plus opposing is equal to disparate. So this is the right word. Commonplace, trivial, again, trite. What is trite? Trite is dull. People, did you get it? The meaning of the word disparate. Disparate is not as good as different. We might have different issues, but we all can come to a consensus. But if our issues are disparate, then we have a problem. Why? Because they are not only different, but also opposing. And therefore, they are in conflict. Are we clear about the sixth question? Disparate means different plus opposing. Trite means dull. And trivial means insignificant. People, the seventh question, yes. What do you think is the answer for the seventh question? During the opera's most famous aria, the tempo chosen by the orchestra's conductor seemed dash. Without necessary relation to what had gone before. This is the clue, right? Without necessary relation to what had gone before. What is exacting, by the way? What is exacting? Do you know the meaning of the word exacting? Demanding. Correct? No, demanding. Demanding, basically. Exacting is demanding. It's not wanting. Wanting is lacking. But demanding is basically means strenuous. So, what has demanding to do with this phrase? What has demanding to do with this phrase without necessary relation to what had gone before? Compelling means forceful. Compelling means forceful. What is capricious? Anyone knows the meaning of the word capricious? Sudden changing. Sudden, unaccountable. Sudden, unaccountable changes. Right? Sudden, unaccountable changes is the meaning of the word capricious. Sudden, unaccountable changes is the meaning of the word capricious. Now, what do you think is the right? Yes, it is capricious. Because during the opera's most famous aria, the tempo chosen by the orchestra's conductor seemed capricious. Why? Why capricious? Without necessary relation to what had gone before. That means what? There were sudden changes which could not be understood by the audience. Exacting is demanding, but that's fine. But then that has nothing to do with the phrase here. The phrase that you have given me as evidence does not gel with the word exacting, and therefore exacting goes out. Meticulous is perfect. I mean, it means perfect. Compelling means forceful. They all go out. The only answer is capricious. A is the right choice. Educational. That is what the word didactic means. Didactic means instructive or educational. Sartorial means concerned with tailoring, concerned with clothes. It's a meaning. It's an adjective. Sartorial means concerned with clothes or tailoring. So now the meaning is clear to you. Frivolous means non-serious, right? Syntactical means concerned with English grammar, I think. What is the right answer? C is the right answer, I think. It's an obvious choice. The novelist, The novelist devotes so much time to avid descriptions of his character's clothes that the reader soon feels that such sartorial concerns, why? Concerned with clothes, although worthy of attention, have superseded any more directly literary aims, right? So this becomes the right choice. Right? Take the 11th one. The clue to the right answer is through finesse and what is understatement here? So if it is understatement, can it be uncontrolled exuberance, people? Are you following me? If it is an understatement, if the dancer is if the dancer is dancing as if she's trying to, I mean, if it is understatement, how can it be uncontrolled exuberance? Exuberance means energy, correct? So it cannot be uncontrolled exuberance. How it can be unattractive gawkiness? It's outrightly negative, correct? And she's drawing one's attention, right? So if you're drawing someone's attention, how can you be unattractive gawkiness? Understatement basically means, understatement is not negative. Look at this finesse. Is finesse a negative word? People, is finesse a negative word? Understatement basically means what? Understatement means what? Finesse means perfection. Understatement basically means, if you say that uh, she's good, then you will say that's an understatement. She's great. I hope you're following me. When I say she is good, then you would say, sir, it's an understatement. She is great. I hope you're following the meaning of the word understatement now. So it cannot be unattractive gawkiness. We can remove C, right, people? We can remove C as well, right? Yes or no? Now if uncontrolled exuberance goes out, then how can you have unrestrained enthusiasm? These two will go out. They are one and the same thing. Unrestrained enthusiasm is as good as uncontrolled exuberance. So even B goes out. Undemonstrative, because it is undemonstrative, it is an understatement. You don't demonstrate your feelings, but I can see it on your face. People, undemonstrative is understatement, right? Yes or no? So A can be shortlisted here. A can be shortlisted. So it is undemonstrative, but it's a panache. Panache basically means elegance, control, finesse. So Belanger dances with an undemonstrative panache that draws one attention as if by seeking to deflect it. Right? So Belanger dances with an undemonstrative panache that draws one attention as if by seeking to deflect it. So she attracts you as if she's trying to just throw you out. Through finesse and understatement, he managed to seem at once intensely present and curiously. That's the end of the session. I will record the other questions. How were the questions, people? I think the questions were quite good. There was a mixed balance of different questions, right?